What is up, you guys? Sage here. So we talked about unique, expensive, sticky air. Today we're on expensive. Now, expensive, I'm not as good at covering this topic off top like I am as good at unique. You know, we all have our strengths and weaknesses. But I think I can start on a point that we're all going to understand, which is it's better to sell to fewer people than it is to sell to many people, but your business still needs to meet certain profit margins to be able to serve even those few people as best you can, and for it to make sense for both their time and yours. Now, because of our let's say, not lack of expertise, but we can say that for now, for lack of a better term, because of our lack of expertise in this particular subject, or how I'm not as refined at doing it off top, because I never really have to explain to people why they should price more expensively. Usually they agree with me. So we're gonna get into why exactly. And we're gonna use the guidelines. You know, we have two mentors on the channel. It's Alex Hormozy and Patrick Bet David. And we're gonna use the manual $100 million offers in order to touch on some of the points, just to make sure I don't forget anything. But a very simple reason to start off with is, like I said, it's easier to serve fewer customers for higher prices than it is to serve many customers for cheaper prices, for a couple of reasons, including that in order to target those fewer customers, you're going to be marketing very specifically for them, and your product is going to be designed very specifically to serve those people, which means you're going to be better at doing it. And next point, you're not as good as you think you are. One, no matter how much you think you know, there are certain things that you just learn when you're in the game. There are certain things you're gonna begin to understand as you begin to interact with people and realize, like, oh, people are actually more excuse me, they know more about that particular aspect of what I'm trying to do than they know about this aspect, which means I should actually focus less on educating about this one and focus more on educating about that one. Because on a balance of probabilities, I've maybe worked with like 5-10 people. I noticed that they can do this basic thing, that basic thing, but this one absolutely no, you know. So you begin to learn, you begin to refine the product. You haven't formed systems yet in order to deal with people. You haven't formed processes yet. You don't know what you're doing. You may know the subject matter. For example, I knew training, right? I knew training and I had studied personal training. But before you get your first client and you actually begin to work with someone, that's the only time. Like, before you do that, you don't really know what's going to happen. When you start to actually do it, that's when you're going to begin to learn as well, and you're going to improve. If you're not improving, then you're doing something wrong. You're not trying to refine the product. So it's a very raw product at first, where it's like, okay, I know what I'm talking about when it comes to doing it for myself. I don't know what it's going to look like to do it for someone else, and I would like you to go on this journey with me. Is usually what the conversation is going to be. And after you do hit that first person, you do start to get a bit of a stride, a bit of a system, in terms of, okay, so first I'm going to do this. They're going to meet me. We go through the sales call. From there, I'm going to send them an email. The email is going to have this. From this, we're going to do this. From this, we're going to do this. That step by step, you don't know what the step by step is going to look like, because you don't know what you're going to need, because you've never needed it, right? So that's number one reason why. Okay, why? First of all, you should start for free first. And then when you actually have something that's good enough to actually give to people for money, which is, you should have something that's good enough before you even get to that point where you're pricing it all. So if you're pricing expensive, few people. But before you get to that point of pricing, as you're busy developing and crafting this offer, it is best to start for free, to start working for free or very cheaply, because you don't know what you're doing. And humble yourself in that, in understanding that, well, I actually don't know what I'm doing. And it's actually, it may even cost this person more in terms of time, in terms of, they could have just gone for a more knowledgeable service, a more advanced service. They could have gone straight to the titans of the game, but they maybe can't afford the titans, whatever the case may be. So now they're here. So now it's costing them to not be able to afford to pay him, because if they paid him, he was going to take them straight to where they want to go, because he knows what he's doing. He's done it before. He's been there before. He's done it thousands of times. Knows exactly what to do with this particular type of customer. I don't have that knowledge, but I do have the knowledge of the game, and I'm going to figure out what to do. Do you see the difference between that? This is more of a direct process. This is more of we're going to figure it out together. I'm knowledgeable in what you're trying to do, and I know what we're probably going to have to do. But in terms of the step by step, listen, we're going to work it out together. We're going to see what works, we stick with, what doesn't work, we dump. He's already done the sticking with dumping process, right? So first, do it for free, figure it out. And then once you have something that works, and it's worked and it's produced results consistently, and not only has it worked for you, it's worked for other people, it's worked for various people, then you can bring it to the marketplace. Then we talk about expensive. Then we talk about, okay, now that you're here and you have this thing and it works and you know it works because you've tested it, it's tried and true. Now you have to price not competitively because there's nothing like what you have on the market. Because in crafting the offer, we talked about this last video, you want to be unique. You're going to make it unique. It's different. It's not going to be compared to anyone else's because it's not the same as anyone else's. No one else is doing what you're doing in terms of they're just giving the thing. You're giving the thing and everything else that you need to make this thing work as best as it possibly can, right? That's you. So you come, you've tested that, you've done those things, you've figured out what things to do, what things are not really necessary, what do people really, okay, awesome. Now we're here, we're actually doing the thing. When doing the thing, price it expensively, because you need to weed out people who are not going to be locked into this thing, right? Okay, are we going to get into this one now, or should we start here? Basically here, what I need you guys to understand is, because you have limited resources and you have fewer things and you just have this checklist here, you still need to hit some home runs. You still need to make this work. This needs to work, right? In order for the sake of your reputation, for the sake of your track list, for record's sake, you need this to work. And in order for this to work, yes, you're not inexperienced anymore, but you do have a little bit of experience. Now you're gonna take that experience and combine it with the revenue that you're gonna be making from these people paying you. So you need to be making money. So you need to charge for it, and you need to charge high prices in order to narrow the pool of people who are actually going to be going into the thing. But your thing has to be good enough to be that expensive. And so you go into this marketplace, you have this thing, and you have fewer people to serve, which means you can be very specific in what you do. That's another thing about having fewer customers, is you can have a certain avatar. An avatar is basically who you want to sell to. You can have a very specifically, instead of saying I want to sell to lawyers, you can say I want to sell to divorce lawyers in this region dealing with lawsuits from price point this to price point this, doing this type of you can niche down. Now you don't have to niche down too much, but you can actually begin to niche down and target specifically. Let's bring it into something that I could maybe speak more to. Instead of saying I coach athletes, you can say I coach rugby players. That's a bit more specific. You can charge a bit more. You can say you can say I coach rugby players who are forwards. You can charge a bit more for that. You can say I coach rugby players who are forwards on defense. That's a niche of a niche of a niche, right? And obviously from there you can say, yeah, I can, but for example, when you get into the space and then they see that you're doing a good job with this one and they offer you something else, you do have the option of saying, yes, I can do that, but this is my offer. This is what I do, right? If you guys want me to coach the backs as well on defense and this and that, I can do that 100,000%, but my area of expertise is this, and this is why my price is so premium, right? So that's another reason why, or it's the correlation between your expertise and your pricing. And you need to be in that zone of knowing exactly what you're doing and exactly what you're trying to do and exactly who you're trying to do it for. And then you can start breaking into those higher price points. But let's just get into these a bit. Now, this is, like I said, $100 million offers. And we're going to hit some, a couple of main blanket points when it came to the pricing section. This was section 2. Page 22 is first. Okay, we talk about how to charge lots of money for your stuff. Okay, so obviously, first it's understanding that the market is growing continuously. So you can't afford to stagnate. Inflation is, I think it was point something at the time for that. The stock market grows at 9% per year, right? Which means if you're not growing at least 9% per year, then you're falling behind. So stagnation is a myth. You don't stagnate. You fall, you're dying slowly. It's a more slow poison of it's a more slow poison of falling off. Wanted to just touch on these briefly. Okay, and then pricing number two is find a starving crowd. So it's if you if a magic genie comes to you, your hot dog salesman, and he says, if you could have one thing over the competition, what would it be? Would it be prime positioning, a great market, great this, great that, good like the best brand, the best hot dogs, the best this, the best that? None of that. It would be a starving crowd. So the people you want to sell to, you want to be in an industry where who you're selling to is growing. So, for example, you wouldn't want to be in the newspaper industry in 2024 because that's a dying market. You could absolutely crush and be absolutely like monstrous in whatever tactic you're using to sort of attack that industry, and you could still be falling behind, and your company could be dying, not because you're not doing a good job, but because your market is dying. So best case scenario is to be in a rising tide. In 2024, I would say that would be, for example, in the space of technologies, in the space of AI. If and that's what's happening now. Is a lot of people are hitting and missing in that AI space, but they're trying because they know that that's the next thing, and rising tide raises all boats. You know, but the same is true for a sinking tide. So, but when choosing a market, a normal one is okay. If your market is something that's constantly going to be there, like say farming, for example, we're always going to need farmers. We're always going to need food. If you get into various industries, man, logistics, we're going to need logistics. Like electricians, mechanics, etc. We're always going to need those certain things, and we're always going to need tools for those certain industries, and we're going to need various services that, do you get what I'm trying to say? So industries like that are just standard, are decent to get into. Those are decent vehicles. What you don't want to be is in a declining industry, and if you can find a rising tide and absolutely climb on that, then do so. Okay, let's touch on another one of these price points. Okay, so first was the commodity problem, which is basically what we were talking about in the other video as well, which is how to differentiate yourself, right? From being a commodity by making it a apples to oranges comparison when comparing your product to theirs. That can allow you to price a lot higher, right? Number one. Number two is finding the right market, finding a starving crowd. So giving to people where you're in a market that is a rising tide. Like people will buy if you get knowledgeable in AI, people will buy AI courses in 2024. People who are in that industry, in the photography industry, is a great example for this, because they're actually able to make things now that would cost hundreds of thousands to make before for a fraction of the price, right? Just through AI, literally just making the pictures, and it's exactly the picture, and you can sell that picture, for example, to a brand, because this is an incredible picture that would be impossible to make using your normal Photoshop and this and that. Now with AI it's possible. So when you get good at using those tools, then you can price very highly for that, because that's a rare skill, and the people are starving for it, right? They want it. So if you're someone who can do that, you're doing it for the brands, that you can make money doing that. But the starving crowd would be the people who are eager to learn that, and you've already figured it out, right? Not because those people absolutely need it, because they haven't figured it out. They want to that that would be a very great market to sell to. And then the last point, which is a big one for me, and it's on 43. Excuse the bars, which is charge what it's worth, right? And the quote that's here is by Dan Kennedy. It says, charge as high a price as you can out loud without cracking a smile. As high a price as you can out loud without cracking a smile. If you can say, 50K, then charge that, bro. As soon as you start cracking smiles, then you're like, okay, nah. Because they don't think you're bullshitting, bro. They're absolutely gonna think you're BSing if you start doing that. Okay, and then here I remember, okay, yeah, this is the main thing that I actually wanted to refer to the book to, and this is about the price to value discrepancy. So I've said this before, I'll say it again. People rarely want to feel like they're getting what they pay for. They never want to feel like they're losing. They never want to feel like they're losing value. They're getting less than what they paid for. And they always want to be in an area where they feel like, oh, this is a bargain. This is, for this price, this is absolutely incredible. And that's where you want to operate. So when we talk about differentiating yourself from the market, we are talking about making a better product, just straight up being better than the competition. And that's going to be better for them. So even though you're charging them premium, although it's premium pricing, they're paying that premium, still thinking, wow, what a bargain, bro. What a steal. And that's where they want to be. That's where they want to operate, right? Now, what I absolutely love, and the main thing I wanted to hit on is the virtuous versus the vicious cycle of price. I just want to check quickly if there's anything. Okay, I'm gonna hit the virtuous cycle of price. Then I'm gonna hit the summary points from the end of the entire chapter, and then we'll just do our final thoughts and we'll wrap from there. So the virtuous versus vicious cycle of price. I'm gonna show you guys so that you guys can pause here. Let me move my face out of it in case you guys wanna do some studying, whatever the case may be. The virtuous versus vicious cycle of price. So if your price decreases, the emotional investment of your clients decreases. So it's what happens for your clients and it's what happens for your business, right? So on the left side, you'll see that when the price decreases, the emotional investment of your clients decreases. The perceived value from your clients of the product decreases. The results from the client side are going to decrease because of the thing we just went through, but they're going to be less emotionally invested and they won't think that this is a valuable service anyway. So they're not going to actually apply themselves, right? So the results are going to decrease. The demandingness is actually going to increase because they're like, if I came here and I paid you at all for this thing that I don't even think is worth anything, then I want as much of my money as I can get. Do you see what I'm trying to say? So demandingness is going to increase. The revenue for fulfillment per customer is going to decrease. So the actual money that you have to do what you said you were going to do is going to be less because you're charging less. Do you see what I'm trying to say? Versus on the other side of things, when you increase the price, the emotional investment increases, the perceived value increases, the results are going to increase because the last two have increased. The demandingness will actually decrease because you are showing up for them in these ways because they're seeing results. They think this is actually an expensive product and their emotional investment is high because it costs them a lot to do. So if something actually hits you and stings you in the pocket a little bit, are you going to pay attention to it or not? Right? Versus if it doesn't sting you in the pocket, you're probably less so going to pay attention. You're going to be like, I don't know, I'll show up maybe, versus if you're paying a lot for it, I bet you're going to show up to every training session. I bet you're going to show up to every class because it's stinging you. It's a lot of money. And that's why you charge more. So emotional investment, perceived value, the results, demandingness decreases, revenue for fulfillment per customer. Now, this is a very important one for me because our goal is actually to do as much as we can and to do what we can as best we can for the customer. And if our revenue for the fulfillment per customer, never mind our profits and this and that, I'm talking about the actual revenue. An example of this is if I wanted to do something for my customers, like I'm going to try and think of a personal training example now. Say I wanted to meal prep for them. Say I wanted to get them as a part of being a Trained by Sage client. I want to get you a meal prep service that's going to deliver you meals. Or if I can't do that, I want to grocery shop for you, bring the meals to you. But that's money for groceries, that's money for transport. That's so when the actual revenue that you're making to make these things come to fruition is higher, then you have a higher likelihood to actually make a better product and the best product that you can possibly make, because you do have the financial means to show up for your clients as best that you possibly can. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So revenue is absolutely vital for me, because even when you just when you consider the things that you may want to do and you may not be able to do them because you're thinking I'm actually strapped for time. I could be using the time to do this and that, because you're scrapping for money. Versus when the revenue's up, then you can actually show up for the customer as best you can. You can go all out. You can, you don't have to pull punches. Nah, you can go there. You can make the programs. You can make the meal plans. You can make the video tutorial that says, hey, listen, this is how you should shop. You should try and do this, try and do that, try and do that. You can even one up that and go with them as a group. You grab the whole group and you say, guys, let's go. We're gonna go on a shopping expedition. We do this and that. You can show up for them in that way, right? You can think of it in terms of a school as well. Just an example that popped into my head of, you have these kids and you want to expose them to as much as you possibly can, and you want them to see these different industries, and you want them touring certain places because you do want to inspire the kids, and that's going to change their lives. That's going to reflect well on the parents. The parents are going to be satisfied because their kids are going on these trips and they're doing this and that. And it's also going to reflect well on you, because these kids are now going to be successful because you actually took them to a place where they got inspired and they actually went for this thing. Now kids from your school are working at this company. This company has a good impression of you. The parents have a good impression of you. The kids are grateful. And all of that is because you took them on a tour, or you're able to take them on tours to these different places. But what's the issue with taking people on tours is money, revenue, right? If you're not making money, then you're not going to be able to do things like that. You're not going to be able to take the kids out, to show them these things, right? And this is something that you want to do as well, because it's actually a part of your whole customer satisfaction process. Is I want to give you guys the best experience that you could possibly have. And a part of that for a school, for kids, is I want the rugby to be touring. I want the rugby to have tours to all these different places. But then you have buses. The buses have fuel. You need to feed the kids. They may sleep at the hostels. That's electricity. Do you see all these costs? And if you don't have the revenue to support this type of action, then you're not going to be able to show up in that same way. And this may be something that you want to do. I was just making an example that I think we can all kind of understand of a way that if you were, for example, a school principal, you own a school, whatever the case, you would want to show up for the kids in this way. This is something that your heart would be open to doing. It would just be a cool thing to like, oh, wouldn't it be so cool? I remember going on this tour and that tour. Oh, that was so cool. That cost the school a lot of money at the time. So just the basic understanding of think of the kids as customers to the business that is the school, because that's what it is, right? And then think of your customers as the people, as the kids that you want to experience this thing as best they can, and you want to provide with this maximal experience. Because wherever they show up, say you're coaching athletes, if they show up to a sports team and they're performing at a certain level because their nutrition's on point, their sleep is on point, they're this, they're that, because everything is just rolling. They understand supplementation because you've gave them video tutorials and you gave them this, you gave them that. You can actually maybe even sponsor them with supplements because it's a part of the package of what you offer, because okay, if someone's going to train, they're probably going to need supplementation, they're probably going to need some recovery, some joint stuff, you can not pull any punches and you can go full on out for your clients. And that's what you want to do. That's the space that you want to be operating in. So that's why revenue is absolutely, it's paramount. You need to be making the bags in order to be able to show up as best you can, because you'll have the knowledge, you just won't have the means. So in order to have the means, increase price. Price has to go up. For your business, when price decreases, your profit decreases, your perceived value of self decreases, your perception of impact, your results decrease, your service levels decrease, and your sales team's conviction decreases. And you may even be the sales team in a small business. Your conviction is gonna decrease because you're thinking, bro, yeah, it's $500, bro. What? It's $500, dog. And they're thinking, this person's not saying this with a chest. This must not even be worth $500, bro. This is probably worth nothing. They're gonna think they're on this end of the spectrum where they're gonna be paying for something and not getting as much value back. Whereas in reality, you may be on this end of the spectrum, but because you haven't priced yourself right, people will just assume that you're here. Your service level decrease, sales team conviction will decrease. When the price increases, your profit will increase, your perceived value of self will increase, your perception of impact, results will increase, your service levels will increase, and your sales team conviction will increase, right? Okay, let's touch on this next point. Now that we're up and getting to it, the boat's rolling, the steam is rolling. Summary points. So what you should take from this, first and foremost, charge premium. It will allow you to do things that no one else can to make your client successful. We were able to charge premium prices because we provided more value than anyone else in the industry in a real way. We were charging a fraction of what our clients made using our system. This is important. Our clients still got a deal. Very important. Underline that. If you're taking notes, underline that part. Our clients still got a deal. The gap between what they paid, price, and what they got, value, was massive. That's a very, very important point. And as a result, the virtuous cycle continued to spin. We charged the most money, we provided the most value, our gyms remained the most competitive, made the most money, always had the latest and best acquisition system, and George, always had the latest and best acquisition systems, and had the support to implement them at lightning speed. We made many mistakes along the way, but our pricing models was not one of them. It allowed me the room to make big bets without losing the farm. The truth is that 99% of businesses need to raise their prices to grow, not lower them. Profit is oxygen. It fuels the fire of growth. You see, I actually have I have a similar saying, which is what is it? It's profit is the air in the lungs that the business needs to breathe. I'm sure I was somewhat subconsciously inspired by this. So profit is oxygen. It fuels the fire of growth. You need it if you want to reach more people and make a bigger impact. In order to charge so much, though, you must learn to create tremendous value. Let's head there next. Yeah, I think we should just end on that one. Charge more. Be expensive. Charge premium so that you can start here, provide as much value here as possible. Then after you start small, you are going to be getting revenue in, you're going to be making profits, and you can start building a team. And you're making revenue, you're making profits because it's working for your clients, which means you have systems in place and you have things to do. You have a checklist of, okay, if we do this, and this, that metric will increase. That's all we're trying to do here. That's business, is, okay, if we do this, and this, that will happen. That will occur. These are the inputs, that is the output. That's all. So when we get into a place where we've serviced this few when we're starting, even though we're still charging premium, we're starting out with few. We get the processes, we get the systems, we get the things to work. Then from there, we can start putting the money back in. Then we can start saying, okay, can I have a sales team to come say the script instead of myself? Can I have a call team, an outreach team, a sort of marketing, you can say acquisition team, to use a nice business word, a nice fancy word. I'm okay, and now I can have an acquisition team and this may that the team might just be one person, where you're saying, okay, my business is growing, this is working, the machine is doing what it's supposed to do. Okay, do I need to be the one who makes the sales or who makes the calls to reach out to people? Probably not, because here's what I say, and here's what to say to get that result. Okay, let's put someone in place there and then see how they're doing. If they're doing worse than you're doing, then you didn't delegate. There's another word for it. But base delegation is, I'm gonna give this to someone, and this is someone that has been trained, that I've trained, that is either gonna perform the same or better. That's delegation. The other word is, it's something that I so don't want to do. It's not even a part of my vocabulary, bro. I don't even know what it's called. But there's this thing that's possible where you give something to someone and it's worse. And yeah, that's not delegation. It's something else. I don't even know those ugly words for things that don't work, because I'm a winner. You're a winner. We win. That's what we do. So delegation, it goes up or it stays the same in terms of the sales team. In terms of the acquisition, then sales team, you say, okay, you maybe have one guy, because most of the business is making a little bit of money, making a little bit of healthy profit. You're thinking, okay, let me put this back into the business, right? Let me put it back into the machine. So the machine has these words that you say in order to get this outcome of having hot leads going to the sales team to actually buy. Okay, so here are the words. Here's the system processes for acquisition. Okay, acquisition is still working. Awesome. They come through to you. You make the sales. You look at the numbers. You reflect. You're like, oh, these are actually getting better over time. Number one, because our offer may be getting better over time, but also our acquisition guy, he might be hitting it. He might be getting into a groove. He's starting to figure it out. Okay, now acquisition is increasing. I'm selling. We're making more money. Boom. Let's get a sales guy. Boom. Now it's a 3-man squad, Bob. This guy is bringing them in. This guy is selling them. You're delivering the service. Eventually, you move out of delivering the service, and so on and so forth. But none of that happens if you're not making profit. Then the business can't breathe. Then she dies. We talked briefly about the fact that the stock market is growing by 9% each year, which means if your business is not growing by at least 9% each year, then it is dying. It is getting worse, because of the relative gap between yourself. If you're here and everyone else is here and they're growing at 9% each year, it's not just that you're staying here, but look at now the gap between yourself and everyone else is going to keep increasing and increasing and increasing until you're obsolete. You're no longer necessary. So you need to be making profits. You need to be growing. And that's the only way that you're going to survive. Okay, so next video is going to be about Sticky. We're going to talk recurring revenue, etc. But for now, I've been Sage. Hope you guys did in fact enjoy. I hope you got a little bit of something here and there. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Sage, signing out.